Item H, public hearing regarding the renewal of school parcel tax. And I will be opening the public hearing, or are you going to introduce?
No, I was just going to introduce it. Should I
Thank you
introduce
very
it?
much.
Okay.
Thank you.
The purpose of this item is to secure the Board of Trustees' approval of Resolution 22 for 2013-14. The resolution must be adopted by the Board of Trustees in order to place the measure on the November 2014 ballot.
All right. And I'm going to find my space because my place in here. And we have in front of us the ballot measure, full text of the measure, abbreviated text of the measure, formal notice of the school parcel tax renewal election. And we do have legal counsel here. That's great. So what I'm going to do now is open the public hearing. At this time, are there any questions before I close the public hearing? Oh, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Board. My name is Brian Carver, but I was just going to convey Shirley Inamoto's comments because she had to leave. There's some confusion about when the parcel tax expires. Would love to hear any clarification about that. And I think the general, and her special concern is that the senior exemption be continued, and she has some assurance that that is going to happen. But in general, I think the thought was we're not discussing the possibility of having overlapping taxes, right? Where there would be two applicable between 2017 and 2019. That, so long as that's not happening and we get the date straightened out, everybody's happy. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comments during this public hearing? No microphone. Thank you. I saw that. Any other public comments during this public hearing? All right, I'm going to now close the public hearing. In our next section, we'll actually have the dialogue about that and be able to address those. Public hearing is now closed, so we'll now move on to the next item on the agenda. I'm trying to keep up with all this.
The next item on the agenda is approval of Resolution 23 for 2013-14, authorizing the superintendent to sign a joint occupancy agreement, or JOA, with the city of Emeryville. This is the first reading.
Thank you, Dr. Rubio. And perhaps we could probably open first with clarifying comments related to those points that were just raised in the public hearing. Did you?
I think we skipped over, it's not the joint occupancy, but now is the adoption of the resolution.
Oh, I was on
Did I read the
I.
wrong one?
Yeah, you read the joint occupancy, which is K2. We're on I1.
I1, sorry.
Anybody out there
Did
have
I set
bingo?
you up?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes. All right, so I did read the wrong one. So, excuse me.
I found it on the agenda.
Sorry.
So back to I1.
I1. We need to take action on I1. Is that?
Yeah,
Thank you.
no worries.
I appreciate you wanting us to move along. So, I'm sorry?
So we're going to have, we're looking at adoption of Resolution 22, 2013-14, proposing renewal of a school parcel tax. And as I just mentioned, if we could have probably the first part, have the questions addressed from the public hearing. And perhaps our legal representative would be able to do that. You don't mind?
Yeah.
Great.
When the other one expires.
I'm sorry. I didn't know. Okay. So, can you help us address that question regarding the expiration date of the first Measure A?
Certainly, and just by way of introduction, I'm Harold Freeman, for those I haven't met yet, from Lozano Smith. Actually, there are a few different questions that came out. Maybe I can just kind of rattle through the questions and then give any other clarification you need. One of them was the dates of the measure, and this is one that's a little hard to clarify because if you take a look at Measure A, the existing parcel tax measure, it has a 10-year term. It was adopted in 2007, and the resolution actually states that it is a 10-year measure that becomes effective in July of 2007, which by our math takes us to 2017. Curiously, it appears that probably the intent of the measure was to go to 2019, but that's not what it says. And in fact, the impartial analysis when the election took place in 2007 from County Council actually indicated that the measure would run through 2019. So we have, at best, an ambiguity. The way that this is structured, the current measure, is intended to give you a situation where your current measure will run through 2017, and then the new measure will go into effect as soon as that expires, so July 1st of 2017. And at that point, it will replace the existing measure, frankly, whether the existing measure goes to 2017 or 19. And so we're clearing up exactly what the intent of that is. There would be no overlap. The current Measure A would go to June 30th of 2017, July 1st of that same year, 2017, it would kick over into the new measure if the new measure passes. So that was the first question, and if I can just go through really quickly the other two. Well, actually, it takes care of the overlapping taxes question as well. And I just also wanted to mention in the current draft that's before the board of the resolution and your proposed parcel tax measure, there is an extension of the senior exception or exemption that would work exactly the same way it does under Measure A. So it would just continue forward for that additional period.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So before we go further, are there any questions from board members on what we have in front of us?
Nope, I'm fine.
I'm good.
And I'll just note that I think the effort the staff made to clean up and make things clear has really been valuable. We needed it and didn't know we needed it so bad. But we do appreciate the hard work and getting this done rather quickly. And it's phenomenal to see how things have accelerated in so many ways. So that's been very valuable for us.
And if I may, I just would like to thank legal counsel on this because it was it's very appreciated, all the help on clearing up the language and making sure that the public and the residents of Emeryville will be able to clearly understand and read the new language in the parcel tax. Thank you.
And just before anything, before we go to a vote or not a vote, but maybe hopefully a motion and then a vote, want to ask if there's any public comment on this particular item. I think we've addressed questions in the public hearing, so good. Please.
I'll just say that I did clear up things for me. I read this and I think the language takes care of my
I appreciate that. And for those who are at home and didn't hear Ms. Cooley over the microphone, she's okay with it and believes her questions have been addressed adequately. So thank you very much. All right. So I'll come back to the board. Can I get a motion to move forward?
Yes,
here?
I move that we adopt a resolution to renew the school's partial tax.
And I'll second.
Awesome. I'm not going to object. So there's without any objections. Roll call, please, Ms. Emery.
President Dice?
Yes.
Member DeWin?
Yes.
Member Pats?
Yes.
And unfortunately, we do not have two other board members who I'm quite certain would echo that vote. So thank you very much, and we look forward to a positive conclusion in November. So thank you very much, Emeryville. So we'll now move on.